The holidays are upon us, which means it's time to do some serious shopping. You may have friends or family who are artists, specifically digital artists, and need some ideas on what to get for them. Or you're an artist yourself and you want to treat yourself. I'm a digital artist, and here's my suggestions on what you can get for this year's holiday. Before we get into it, I just want to mention that in this video, I'm not going to mention any pen tablets. It's very nuanced and needs its own video. It really depends on that artist's setup, the size that they need. Would they use a pen tablet or a screen tablet? And it's a little complicated. And unless you're absolutely sure you know what type of pen tablet that they want, it's something that you should discuss with the artists themselves. So in this video, I'm going to mention just the stuff that mostly all artists are definitely going to use. First up is a tour box. I love my tour box. As you can see, I've given it a lot of love. What is a tour box? It's a nifty little gadget for software shortcuts. I'm gonna explain this for people who aren't digital artists as well. So when drawing digitally, you need to use a bunch of shortcuts like undo, redo your process, and then switch between tools. You use that with like your keyboard, and that speeds up the art process a bunch. So instead of having to use shortcuts on like a really long keyboard, they're like all here in the palm of your hand. I draw with an iPad, and I could never really place my keyboard comfortably beside me because my iPad would need to be center in front of me and then the keyboard on the side, and it's like really long. So as you can see, it's much smaller and doesn't take up as much space. It's also a lot more portable, perfect for artists who are always on the go, like drawing in cafes or just, you know, not sitting at home all the time. Also, if your artist friend or you are drawing using an app like Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop, apps that have like a lot of tools, the Tourbox is perfect for navigation. You don't have to manually click all of those tiny buttons. Tourbox has a bunch of models for you to choose from, but it's important that you know what their setup is. If they're using a laptop or PC, then cool. They can use all the models like a Tourbox Lite. I have a video on that if you'd like to check that out. I'll put a link in the description as well. But if they're specifically using an iPad, you have to get the Tourbox Elite Plus, which is this one. This one can connect to iPads, and it also has its own app. And I've noticed a lot in my YouTube comments, like on any sort of video, they're always like what about Android? Like, what about Android support? And for Tourbox, they actually didn't have Android support previously, but now they do. It's coming specifically December 1st. So you Android guys will be able to join. I'm really thinking of getting myself a Galaxy Tab just to test out Clip Studio Paint and this as well. Let me know if you want a video on that. And also, I have a whole video on the Tourbox Elite Plus. If you want to see that, if you want to check that out, just click that or click down below. And in this video, I also want to include a mini updated review. So I've got this like late December last year. I've been using it to close to 11 months now then. And I want to say that I cannot go back to using a keyboard. You can pry this Tourbox out of my cold dead hands. This genuinely has sped up my process a bunch. I work more efficiently with it. I don't get any weird like wrist or finger pain like using a keyboard. And if I go out and have my iPad with me, this also comes with me. So I've got the case and I put this in my bag and I go. And I also put a lot of stickers on it because I love stickers. Also, funnily enough, the batteries in this thing, it's still going strong. I still haven't changed it yet. I even left it on overnight sometimes and I'm like, oh no, the battery's gonna go out. It's still going. I haven't changed the battery yet. Also, this can switch between two devices. You just click this button right here and it'll switch over to whatever device you're connected to. I have it connected to my PC, and I'll switch over sometimes to edit videos or do graphic design in Illustrator. If you want to grab one or just learn more about it, you can head to the link in the description. Also, like I just heard, they just came out with this new color series. It's called the Arctic series. And basically they just made the Elite Plus in 4 different colors. Like, look at this. This is so cute. I really want this. Oh no. Oh, you can see right here that they have added Android support. These are so cute. I can't have 2 Tourboxes, right? What if? So they've got 4 new colors. There's Frost White, Aurora Violet, Glacier Blue, and Midnight Indigo. I really like these colors, which is no surprise because look at the color of my art. Next up is posable figures. I don't have these, but I desperately want them. There are 2 models that I want to talk about here. The first one is the hand model by Kotobukiya. There's so many times when I'm trying to get a hand pose right. So instead of like, sometimes I'm doing like this, trying to like get the angle right, I'm looking at it and I'm drawing, and then you know what? Let me just take a photo. But still, while I'm taking a photo, I'm like, did I get the angle right? Is it like this? And it's really hard. So why suffer like that? Get your artist friend or yourself the hand model by Kotobukiya. And yes, I do know that 3D models do exist. I use the 3D models in Clip Studio Paint as well. And I know that there's a bunch of like 3D posable apps out there. But unlike posing a full body, posing a hand is a lot more difficult. There's like, you know, you got 5 fingers and a bunch of joints, and then they don't only go like that. They sort of twist out in a weird angle as well. When you're posing, sometimes it'll flip out and just get really weird. And a lot of times that I do use the 3D models, I just, you know, end up giving up and just using my own hand as references. But if I were to have this hand model that I can just physically pose it in my hand like make the pose and then look at it, or take a photo and then, use it as reference for drawing. Also, because of its simplicity, it's much easier to use as reference than real hands. Some people have like short, stubby fingers, some people have like really large hands, and most of the times you're trying to get this specific aesthetic for drawing hands. And when you can't use your own hands, having that model is really beneficial. Also, real hands have these folds and wrinkles, making it a lot harder to simplify and to even understand if you're only starting to learn anatomy. So the model simplicity makes it a lot easier to use as a reference. The second models are Bodycomb figures by SH Figuarts. These are completely posable female and male figures, and just like the hand model, they're a lot more easier to pose when they're in your physical hands than using 3D models. A really important note though, the proportions and anatomy are of an anime style. Because of that, it has a more simplified anatomy than from real life. So they shouldn't be used to study anatomy. They can use to study anime proportions, but not for like real life anatomy. Does that make sense? These are mostly used for getting poses correctly when drawing. Like if they're running, how the arms would go, or if they're fighting, how the legs, how the body would twist. And I do want to mention, if you're thinking, oh, a figure model, right? What if I get the wooden figure model that you see in art stores? That's the same thing, right? Stop! It is not the same. Every artist I know has bought that thing and realized it's completely useless because it's not as flexible. It can't move its body around a bunch, and the whole proportions is extremely overly simplified to the point where it's like, it's basically useless. Please don't get that. For anyone, just don't. Except for like house decorations, I guess. I just want to explain another reason why this would be a really good gift is because even though like 3D models do exist, not every artist is proficient in using 3D. Like if they're using Clip Studio Paint like I do, we have access to that. We can just drag and drop a model, we can pose that. But if you're an artist like maybe Photoshop, Procreate, they don't have access to that tools. Even if you can download, there are 3D modeling apps or looking references online, you gotta remember that digital artists, 90% of digital artists are like illustrators, 2D illustrators, not 3D. Those are completely different things, and some people just aren't really proficient in posing in 3D. Just having something physical in your hands is a lot better and a lot easier. At least get the hand one. I think the hand model is really good. And lastly, books. These are the evergreen options that you could give to artists or literally anyone. There's a lot of options for you to choose from, but if you're thinking, okay, art books, but what specifically? I'm gonna give you a few options, and the first one is concept art books. So whenever a new animated movie comes out, or literally any movie, they will come out with an art book that usually showcases a bunch of the concept art and the visual development behind that movie. Like if you think of Pixar movies, like let's say Toy Story, they'll come out with a book that shows you like character design, storyboard, key coloring, and a lot of the art that they just make to get an idea of what the movie would look like. So you not only learn from the process of how they develop the movie visually, but also get to see amazing artwork that sometimes are not posted anywhere and are only shown in the books. What I do have on hand here is the Final Fantasy XIV Art of Eorzea book, and this shows not only just the artwork that was showcased around on like promotional stuff, but also concept art for a lot of the gear, the races, the characters, weapons. It's going through this is, I just love it so much. These concept books are usually like this, huge, heavy, and they're packed with a lot into them. So I believe that even one book would just make a really good gift. Oof. They don't have to just be concept art book, they could be like art book collections. Like I have the Critical Role book right here, and this isn't a concept art book, but it showcases a bunch of artwork that the community has made and put them into the book. They have like a ton of artwork in here that's really, really good to look at. And as artists, you're not only supposed to just learn from tutorials and step-by-steps and stuff, but you're also supposed to look at a lot of art in general. You're supposed to build up, what do you call it, like a visual library. And you do that by just consuming a lot of art. Also, I just wanted to show this book because my art is in here as well. This is also heavy. Or just, look at what your artist friend is into. When I was into Genshin Impact, I got this book, which just shows off all of the art that they've used in promotional material and just used on social media and stuff. Character art also. Also, this is a very important note. Don't get ebooks, please get a physical book. Like, yeah, you could zoom in on a screen to look at all of the details, but nothing compares to having it in your hands. I'm pretty sure there's like a psychology study of like the differences of looking at stuff on screen and on paper. Like it affects our brains differently. So please get a physical book. Another good option are anatomy books, like the Morpho book series. There's 9 total. They are these like tiny little books that shows the artist's study on different parts of anatomy. Also, this is very important to know, the Morpho books are not tutorials. They don't teach you anatomy. They're studies with notes from the artist. And if you're thinking, okay, then if it doesn't teach, then what's the point of the book? It's for us to use as reference. There's a lot of detail from a real body that you can't really glean from. So that's why the studies from these books are a lot easier to learn from. They have dissected and pretty much digested the anatomy, so it's a lot easier to understand. I have the book Fat in Folds, and I have a video on it as well. You can go check that out to see what the book is about. I would physically show you the book, but I lost it. I flipped my entire apartment around. I can't find it. I keep losing stuff. But yeah, those are tiny books. They don't cost much. There's 9 total, and they're good to use as reference. Another anatomy book series that I recommend is by Taco1704. I'll have a bunch of the images up on screen of what they have done, and some artists watching this video might instantly recognize these from the internet or Pinterest. So Taco is a Korean artist that shares anatomy tips online, and they're extremely widespread for how simplified they are. They've made 2 books compiling all of these tutorials, teaching anatomy and proportions, and all of them are so simplified and easy to understand that it takes away the complexity of anatomy, or learning anatomy in general. If you look at studying anatomy, just like looking that up, you would see like skeleton, muscles, and just trying to draw as realistically as possible. And for a lot of artists, it's scary and hard to get into, but Taco makes these tutorials, again, super simplified and a lot more approachable. These books look like they're for beginners, but I believe that even seasoned artists could really benefit from these to use as reference or touch up their skills. So I think that anyone could get these books, really, if they draw people. I personally am planning to get them. I gotta check and see if they ship to my country and get myself a little Christmas present. Yeah, that's it. That's the video. I hope this video helps you get a good idea on what to get for digital artists. I have links to everything down in the description below. Let me know if this video helped you, and if you have ideas or suggestions of your own, share them in the comments below for everyone else to see. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.